Sam.
What?
I hear Salt Lake City is really pretty this time of the year. Can you confirm or deny those rumors?
I can confirm.
There's a lot of people who can confirm that. Actually, I can. I've been to Salt Lake City before. It's actually gorgeous around there. If you can, like, if the mountains are your thing, and anyone who knows me knows they're very much my thing, like, get as high as you can up there and just look around. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Are you gonna try and fight a bear in Salt Lake City?
Well, probably not the city itself, but if you can find me one in the mountains, I don't want to fight it. I want it to be my pet and my friend. And then we can create a bond that's going to last years and years, and no one's ever going to mess with me. So I think that's a great idea. Anyway, welcome to the AHL Pre-Show, everyone. It's great to see you all again. Well, you're seeing us, but I feel like I'm seeing all of you every time I'm looking into the camera. Hi, I'm Andrew Rinaldi. Over there, I'm going to let her introduce herself.
I'm Sam Wismer.
There she is. Yeah. And shout out to our third wheel, Deanna McFeron. She is unavailable to make it this week, but she'll be back with more of the chaos later on. So don't you go anywhere. Anyway, we're right in the thick of it. I know I've been saying that seemingly every week, but it's just every week the games just get more and more intense. They have more and more meaning. And, here we are in the heat of the playoff race. Sam, is this everything you wanted and more?
First year covering Wilkes-Barre, and they clinch. So I'm happy I at least get some playoff action in my life.
Tell me about it.
Because the ECHL team I work for is not going, unfortunately. But I do have Wilkes-Barre to look forward to. I have Syracuse to look forward to since I have picked them up for coverage. Two teams with a lot of talent. JD Forrest, who's the head coach of Wilkes-Barre, basically said that he's preaching, just keep it simple. Don't overthink movements. And just, Wilkes-Barre is on a heater right now. So.
Absolutely. It's going to be an absolute barn burner over there in that Atlantic. I am super excited for it. Oh, and then over here in the Central, I know everyone has heard about it, but I'm just going to say it again. The Griffins are going to the playoffs. He likes it. He's psyched up about it. That's Jonathan Berggren, also known as Yanni Burgers. He and the Griffins are making it for the first time since COVID. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the vibes are buzzing in Western Michigan right now, and it's wonderful. But we're going to look ahead and see kind of what we got in store coming up this weekend here. A lot of big implications with, again, not a lot of wiggle room, but a lot of points still up there on the board. Sam, where do you want to start off? Do you want to start here, there, or everywhere?
Let's just start in the Atlantic. Looking ahead, there's 4 spots claimed now.
Mm-hmm.
You have number 5 and 6 that need to be claimed. And that's probably going to go to Hartford. It's definitely going to clinch.
Is it going?
If they don't keep losing.
Hartford's got a history, as long as I've been around in this show, Hartford's just seem to have a history of tripping up and falling on their face whenever at the end of the season, and it's a snowball that turns into an avalanche. And they're not. What do they got? They're 1-8-0-1 in their last 10. Sam, that does not scream playoff team to me.
Well, you never know. And that last spot is likely to go to Lehigh, but it's not for sure because Springfield could be Springfield and just pull out all the bells and whistles this last coming games and claim that spot, and Lehigh can be Lehigh and cool off dramatically again. So.
I love how smart these teams try and make me look here, because I was all about like, oh yeah, Springfield, they got a bunch of vets that have been here before. They can easily just turn it on and jump over there and make that last playoff spot. And what have they done since then? They've lost 4 straight games in regulation. So, hi folks, I don't know what I'm talking about. I thought they could get it. I thought they could get it done. I know, they had their coach to start the year, got pulled up into St. Louis. I know it hasn't been the most cohesive year for the Thunderbirds. I at the end of the day, I thought when the chips were going all in, I thought that they were going to draw pocket aces, but I guess not. I'm wrong.
I mean,
I'm wrong.
Springfield is Springfield. They do what they want.
It's very true. Very true assessment. Let's keep it in the Atlantic. Why don't we? I got a really important matchup highlighted here for a couple different reasons, but at other ends of the standings, but just as valid for both teams. We got Providence and Utica going in for a nice little two-game series up there in Rhode Island. And these are teams that both on either side kind of really need those points. Providence, they only got 4 points up on the Penguins and the Checkers, 5 games to go for each of them. Providence does have an extra game in hand, but they need to kind of create a little bit of separation. It's getting a little too tight in there for them. So if they could just pull away a little bit, that would probably be great for them. And then Utica, is pretty obvious. They're down there last in the North, but still very much alive in that race. They're only 3 points back of Belleville. So they got to start making something happen if they really are serious about coming up and stealing that 5 seed away.
And the whole thing with Utica is they've lost guys because of Jersey, but Jersey, I think, is now mathematically and fully eliminated from playoffs. So Utica's going to be getting guys back. Utica's going to be sending guys back. If they don't make playoffs, it is what it is. But the North Division is actually tighter than the Atlantic Division. It's crazy.
Yeah, the North is pretty wild. The thing is, though, I don't know if they are getting anyone back because New Jersey is out, yes, but that was like their case to all right, Jack Hughes shut down for the season. You know what I'm saying? So New Jersey might pull some guys out of the Comets to be like, we need bodies. Here you go. And which could be really, really dangerous for this Comet squad that's trying to make the playoffs here. It's a situation I don't think either organization wants to be in, but it's the reality of the game. And unfortunately, none of their opponents are really going to care because they're all in a playoff race, unless I don't think they have San Jose on the schedule anytime soon. And they all go through it. They all go through the call-ups. They all go through the injuries. You gotta adapt and overcome, as the great philosopher of our times, Bear Grylls, once said. So it's unfortunate for Utica, but you play to win the game. Let's see if they win the game. Or a game. Or we might be saying bye-bye to, well, there's still plenty of hockey left. I'm not going to say bye-bye to anyone yet. What else we got in the Atlantic? Been a lot of good matchups coming up. I know we touched on this. Well, actually, I don't think we did touch on this a little bit. So I want you to go in on Wilkes-Barre and Hershey. Kind of what's at stake for both teams going on here.
I mean, Hershey doesn't really have much going on at stake. Hershey's a great team. I got to give credit where credit is due. They are a very good team. Todd Nelson runs a very well-oiled, tight ship over there. But so does JD Forrest. So, I mean, Wilkes-Barre does have at stake. Charlotte Checkers are literally we're laying on top of each other. I mean, they can literally just switch spots for the next how many ever games they have left to go. Again, Hershey doesn't really have much at stake. I think they might be getting guys back, or they lost some guy. I don't really pay attention to the transactions like that for Hershey, but they could get guys back and they can get stronger. I know Wilkes-Barre has done some transactions that Sam Poulin was up and then he got put back down, and then they brought up I want to say Radom Zahorna, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like the only real implications is kind of Hartford right underneath Wilkes-Barre, and then Charlotte was right on top. So it's kind of like that three race there. And then again, you've got Lehigh Valley and Springfield being Lehigh Valley and Springfield at the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's really important for both these teams to kind of just like set the tone, going forward. If you're Wilkes-Barre and you want to make a run, you got to go through Hershey, right? They're the number one dog. They got the target on their back. So go in there and just punch them in the mouth and say, if we got a series, then it's gonna be a heavyweight bout. If you punch us, we're gonna get right back up, and on the way up, we're gonna bite a kneecap off, and then it's gonna inspire your squad to achieve things that have never been achieved before in franchise history. Of course, I'm referencing a bit of the Detroit Lions there, but you know what? That energy is kind of what the Penguins need to kind of get after a top dog like that. And go ahead.
And I mean, not only that, but like right now as it stands, I believe Wilkes-Barre would be facing Lehigh Valley. And if it's going to be anything like what I saw Sunday, how do I say this nicely? it's
You have to. You might not be able to.
It's not going to be as much of a dogfight as people think it is. Sometimes Wilkes-Barre does go out there asleep within the first 10 minutes of the game, but they get right back on it. And when they get right back on it, they're smothering the opponent. So that's going to hurt Lehigh Valley, because if Lehigh Valley starts out and they go out and they're asleep on the ice in the first period, they're done. There's been no oomph from them this season. If they're asleep, they're asleep. That's the game for them. But if they're awake and they're on it and everything like that, and you can't play sloppy either. So, and that's one thing that Wilkes-Barre doesn't do, is they don't play sloppy. They have their off nights where they do, but I mean, every team does.
Right.
I've seen Hershey have sloppy nights.
I haven't, so you're you got some watchful eye there. We're gonna go ahead and make a shift over here, and we're gonna look at the North. I want to look at a weekend series that's kind of got that same energy as Providence and Utica does, and that's Belleville and Rochester. Now, the Amerks and our lovely Zach Martin's brand new beat over there, they're on an absolute heater. They're only 1 point away from clinching another spot in the playoffs, and they've just gone from kind of middle of the pack there in the North to second seed. Cleveland haven't been doing themselves any favors, and let's be real, Columbus hasn't really been doing Cleveland any favors.
No, they haven't.
and so the Amerks have been able to come up there and jump up to that number 2 spot. Now they got Belleville in there, who's just been an absolute dogfight with Laval, with Utica kind of trailing a little bit behind there for that last playoff spot. So you have two teams that are kind of, again, these are huge games for different reasons, but it's not like it matters more to one or the other or anything. I mean, both of them are going to be going in here and charging high because they need these points one way or another. Do you want home ice advantage in the playoffs? Probably should beat a team like Belleville that's behind you in the standings. Belleville, do you want to be in the playoffs? Well, you got to beat a dog like Rochester, so you got to kind of get in there. Different energy, but same energy, but different divisions, really.
And then within certain divisions, whoever, so like I'm going to use the Atlantic as an example. Hershey and Providence don't start playing until the second round, but whoever plays them, it is where you landed in seeding. So if Charlotte landed 4th in seeding, they're going to be playing Hershey. If Hartford landed 6th, if Wilkes-Barre landed 3rd, they're going to be playing Providence. It's the lower seeded team, and you got to think about that too. It's like, do we really want to play Hershey in playoffs, or we want it kind of easy the first round?
Mm-hmm. Right. You want to try and make your path as easy as possible, which is why you get as many points as possible, and that way you can kind of get served up, a potentially easier matchup. Now, it's not saying that, we don't want Hershey. Let's take Providence because we can beat Providence. I mean, if you're any team worth their weight in gold, you believe you can beat anyone else in this league. But realistically, maybe we don't go for that team that's over there setting records for points percentages and everything. It's unless you're the Florida Panthers. But I digress. This is the AHL, not the NHL. Let's keep it up in the north here. We like it in the north. While we're on the topic of Cleveland and Laval, for that matter, they are going to be seeing each other this weekend, and I think it's going to be, we got one matchup that's going on tonight, this recording on Thursday. So let's talk about Saturday's game. Let's say Laval wins. Now you're tied with Belleville. I believe Belleville is still going to be ahead of them by virtue of the tiebreaker, only because my math's not adding up in the magic numbers. But Laval's only got 3 games left in the season.
It's okay, Andrew. I can't count either.
I'm a English major. I'm not a math guy. But with Belleville only got 3 games left in the season, this kind of is do or die on Saturday night, isn't it?
I think so.
Again, I'm not good at math, so you're gonna have to help me out here.
Well, can you give me a second? I didn't bring the standings up yet, sir.
Clearly, you're not good at math either.
You know what, Andrew? All right. Yeah, I mean, Laval's played 68 games, and Belleville and Utica have only played 67, so they're definitely in the dogfight.
Oof, that's tough.
I mean, fifth and seventh are separated by 3 points.
Well, I'm going to give you an update on that. It is the end of the first period in Cleveland. Laval's got a 2-0 lead. So these Rockets aren't going away anywhere. They might be going right to the moon, actually, but it's tough.
So they would be in 5th, and they would be, if playoffs ended tomorrow, if they would win this game tonight, they would be going.
I think they both had 74 points, and I think Belleville's got a tiebreaker on them.
Oh.
Because, like I said, the magic number is different. It's on the I don't know.
Hold on, I'm bringing the primer up. Relax. Calm down over there.
8 to 13. The math isn't adding up. That's all I'm saying. See? Yeah. It's not so easy now that you're looking at it, isn't it?
Shush, sir. Yeah, no, that doesn't. I'm confused.
Point being, Laval's in do or die mode, and unfortunately, they need to be the biggest Rochester fans this weekend and hope that they just dummy the Senators 2 regulation losses, and that way their fate kind of rolls back into their own hands. It's going to be a tough road. It's just a difficult way that the schedule rolls out, that now you have to kind of sit there twiddling your thumbs and hoping for help. That's just that it's the worst feeling in this sport.
Yeah, it is.
You're just sitting there and like, okay, I think we did what we could do. Now we need another team to do our dirty work for us. And most of the time that never really works out. I remember Chicago last year, at just 1 point. The last game of the season, they win in overtime just to barely get into the playoffs, and all they needed was either a loss from Rockford or Iowa. Neither team lost because the team that they were playing is already in the playoffs. They're like, okay, we don't really care about this game. While the other side is like, we need to win. So...
And it's like, if you're one of those teams that's already eliminated, and, I'm just taking it from personal experience in my life right now. It's like, do you go out there and you play to just play because it's your job, or are you going out there to dummy the other team for that team in that division to not make the playoffs? Like, It's kind of a catch-all.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell on some teams, especially the teams that are eliminated, you can tell the guys that are checked out of the season already. They're just like, we're done. Like, okay. So it's just a catch-all. It's just, yeah.
I agree. A lot of points that are out there still on the table again. In the North, where everything's so tight, each one matters so much. There's nothing set in stone. There's only one team that's actually clinched a playoff spot. So if you want to just talk about absolute pandemonium, well, let's just tune into some games in the North this weekend.
Yeah.
So,
if you want chaos like this show, tune into the North Division matchups.
Should just be the North Division podcast. But enough love for the North. We're gonna turn it over to the Central. This is okay. Now you're in my neck of the woods, so y'all are really in trouble.
I will let you take off, sir.
I'm gonna start off with the series that's got the biggest implications in the weekend. That's Rockford and Grand Rapids. And it's only one game. These two teams are pretty much locked in at the 2 and 3 spot in the Central, which means that in the division semifinals, they're going at it 5 games right off the bat. This past weekend was pretty chippy between the two. Grand Rapids kind of lost their marbles, if I'm trying to keep this family friendly, and really kind of spoiled it for themselves to allow Rockford. They could have really buried the Ice Hogs in the standings with little time left and be like, okay, home ice advantage is ours. And now they just let that door open a little bit. And I'm confident in Grand Rapids getting a W at home with Sebastian Cosa, but they're just making it unnecessarily difficult for themselves here in this one. Not to mention, Taro Hiroshi was suspended for 2 games for treating his sword like a buffalo saber and chopping at Cole Gutman's hand, and which has even further implications because not only is Gutman not going to be available with an upper body injury for this game, but when you look ahead to the playoffs, if Grand Rapids and Rockford are actually kind of, they're on this collision course for each other right now. If Rockford doesn't have Gutman, who was just named Player of the Month in March, that's massive for this squad that would like to play spoiler to the Griffins and can make a deep Calder Cup run. And now I'm also thinking, like, is there going to be blood in this game? Are the Ice Hogs, if this game kind of gets away from them, are they going to look for their own piece of flesh to kind of like, all right, well, you took our guy out. Hey, I see Jonathan Berggren over there with his head down. I don't want to put this into the universe, but this is certainly the mindset, especially going into a grudge match type of game like this.
And you gotta keep that stuff in mind because there was an incident that happened last weekend that, oh my God, who did it take out in Wilkes-Barre? Ty Smith.
Yeah.
Took out Ty Smith, and him and this Lehigh player had an incident a month prior where the Lehigh player got suspended. And while it didn't look intentional, it was just a little bit coincidental on how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they literally just collided into each other on the ice. So to me, it didn't look incidental, but it just, you've got the people out there being like, oh, that was coincidental. That was planned. I'm like, collisions don't get planned on the ice. Fights, however, maybe.
I fully expect that Taro Hiroshi is going to have to spend 5 minutes in the box in response to what he did to Gutman on that play. Moreover, Zach Aston Reese might have to answer the bell in this upcoming game here on, what is that, Friday? Yes, on Friday's game, because there was another incident where there's a broken stick. Ethan Del Mastro comes up, hammers a one-timer, stick breaks. You're watching it go into orbit. Meanwhile, Zach Aston Reese takes this broken stick and flips it up at him and hits him in the back with it. I thought that was the suspendable play for sure because, like, okay, a slash. Yeah, I mean, you don't see suspensions often for slashes, but once you understand that Gutman was seriously injured on the play, you kind of start to understand it. But taking a piece of equipment, a broken piece of equipment, and flinging it at your opponent seems it like grounds for at least a game to sit out. So,
I see people get suspended more in the ECHL for doing less.
Well, that's the coast. The coast is the Wild West. I've seen a lot of wild stuff there. Anyway, it's going to be a barn burner. That's going to be tonight, this Friday. All y'all should tune in if you got the AHL TV. There's going to be a lot of tone setting for the upcoming playoff matchup. That's for sure. And then if we're going to keep on here with the Central, we're going to look at games with like implications. Like I don't want to really look at what Chicago's going to be doing, right? Because it would have to be a miracle run. But if Chicago fans really would want to see a miracle, there need to really be the biggest Iowa Wild fans this weekend, because there's a big series going up there in the Great White North of Manitoba. The Iowa Wild going in for a 2-game set against the Manitoba Moose. And if you're Iowa, this is your season. You're 10 points behind. You have 5 games left in the schedule. You need the Moose to lose every single one of those games in regulation, and you need to win every single one of your games. So if you go in overtime, sorry, season's over. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming out. If they're tied, imagine this. If they're tied like 3-3 in the third period, right? Iowa's going to be pulling their goalie. Like that's going to happen, and it's going to be crazy. I can't wait for it. Everyone in Chicago is probably going to hate the Iowa Wild for doing that, but they have no choice. And so let's see, we got
Andrew, does your division stress you out, bud? Do we need to talk about it? Does your division stress you out?
Not necessarily. All the stress really was taken out when Milwaukee went on like a 19-game heater. I was like, oh, okay. So they're finishing.
Because like if we need to talk about it, we can turn this into a therapy session.
Well, I mean, it all started when my parents got divorced, and then
not that far back.
No, we're not. We're not doing this. Sam, I'm sure you're great, but I don't know if you have the qualifications to handle my trauma.
I don't know if I have the qualifications to handle my trauma.
Oh, jeez. Well, I wasn't the one offering to be your therapist. Anyway, the Central it's not quite so stressful. It's very top heavy. I'll say that. I feel like either one of the 3 teams at the top could make a serious Calder Cup run, whether you're Milwaukee and their insane goaltending, whether you're Grand Rapids and your insane goaltending, whether you're Rockford and your decent goaltending. Because if you're Texas, they have just kind of like Maverick Bork, and they had Logan Stankoven, not anymore. Their goaltending's been okay. I like me some Matthew Murray and Remy Poirier down there, but it hasn't wowed me lately. They were really hot the first half of the season, and it just ever since it's just been kind of meh. And now
I know they had to pull up some of the goaltenders from Idaho, and I mean Brian Thompson, he shows promise, but definitely I've seen Remy Poirier play very, very well. So, but when your goaltenders, obviously, when the parent club decides to do what they have to do, that's going to do what's called the trickle-down effect, and it's going to hurt your team in the long run, depending how long you keep those guys up.
And like I said, when you lose a guy like Stankoven, who probably would, if he would have stayed down in here, probably would have been the MVP in the AHL, and we'll get to more of that later. But after that, it's 3 teams of I'm trying to keep this family friendly, just not very good hockey. Manitoba has been better, but they're still under 500 as a whole. Chicago, I've said my piece on Chicago, and you'll get to know more about that as we head to the end of the season here. And Iowa has just been gross, like all year long, has just really not been pretty hockey over there in America's heartland, which is sad because like I love Jesper Wallstedt, and I want to see him exceed in like a deep playoff run because I think he would be incredible. But
didn't he just get his first shutout? NHL shutout?
He just have his first NHL shutout. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, first off, stick taps for him, but you know, here, hang on, I got one here. Okay, there's your stick taps. But at the same time, Iowa needs a squad around him. You know, like again, I'm a big Turner Olsen fan. I really enjoyed watching him in Grand Rapids. But you don't trade a point per game guy, Nick Petan, for Turner Olsen and then expect to go on a magical run to make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, that's just me speaking. But
that's what I said about a transaction I saw a couple days ago. I said, why get rid of your point per game player when you're about to make playoffs, when you're dog fighting for a playoff spot and you trade away your point per game player?
Mm-hmm. But as we've already established, what do I really know what I'm talking about? The Central Division. Anyway, let's go on to some more stuff I don't know what I'm talking about in the Pacific Division. All the teams have already clinched, so unfortunately the dramatics are really kind of lacking. You know, it's like when you watch a movie and you already kind of know what's going to happen. Like the writing is very predictable. We're already at the sequel here, pretty much. I mean, 1-7 already clinched.
Because Coachella Valley's up there again, just making noise.
Of course they are.
I mean, how many games? Okay, so they both them and Tucson have 5 games remaining. I mean, even if Tucson would win out,
Coachella's already clinched the Pacific.
Coachella is the Pacific Conference or whatever, Western Conference, whatever it is. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about either, so you can trust us on this podcast. They have run away like Hershey, except they don't have as many points as Hershey, but they're creeping right up there.
Yeah, of course, you know, it's just the usual suspects running it back from last year's Calder Cup final. As great as that is to see, I'm kind of hoping for some new blood in the finals here, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's kind of take a look at what we got going on this weekend over there in the Pacific. I know I had a couple series highlighted. We're going to start north of the border. We got Abbotsford and Calgary. Now, while Abbotsford's in 5th and Calgary's in 7th, and you seem like, oh, you know, there's probably a bit of good separation there. 1 point between the two of them. And then, in fact, if you go down the line, if you go all the way up to Tucson at 83 to Calgary at 78, it's just 5 points that separates 2 from 7. So there's going to be a lot of shifting in these standings going on here, I think, and which is going to be great because that means these playoffs are going to be just absolutely
insane.
Yes. I was thinking of another family-friendly way to say it. I'm glad you came up with it first. There's just very little wiggle room over there, and it's kind of been incredible to see all around. But Calgary, Abbotsford. You got some northern I guess it's not northern Canadian, it'd be southern Canadian, western Canadian rivalry going on, and it's they had a heated playoff series last year. Now you're fighting for playoff positioning, not like fight or die because they're all already clinched, but at the end of the day, it might end up becoming that way. Because if you lose a couple of those games there at that 7 seed, now you're facing a stronger team in the 2 seed. But again, with the teams as close as they are,
it's going to be a dogfight until the very end for seeding in the Pacific Division.
I want to talk about a series also in the Pacific that's got intrigue to it that doesn't include completely in the playoff seating. I mean, it does. Don't get me wrong, because Tucson and Colorado are right there neck and neck here in the Pacific. What are they at? They both got Tucson's with 83, Colorado's got 81. So there's going to be some action in the desert, but
And all I have to say about Tucson is nobody saw this team doing this well.
I'll agree with that. I thought that they were going to do well, but second in the division, probably not. So
I was thinking like 5th, 4th, maybe in the division, not second.
Yeah, I thought their ceiling was kind of like 4, but I'm really interested in seeing what the Roadrunners are going to do here, because they might be upgraded to an NHL facility next year for reasons, and those for anyone who isn't aware going on there, there's been a lot of chatter. I won't say anything's official yet. There's a lot of chatter regarding a certain National Hockey League team that resides in the desert that might be going to one of our favorite travel destinations in Salt Lake City for next season.
Might
and the
be.
proposition is that Tucson will then move into the Arizona State hockey team's home arena at Mullet. So it's an interesting development. Do fans even want that? Like, imagine being like, well, you lost your NHL team, and we're sorry about that. Now, here's if we can just twist that knife in the wound a little bit here. Here's all the prospects of that team that you can watch that you'll never get to enjoy playing for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
That just seems cruel and unusual. Am I wrong in saying this?
No. But again, I mean, Arizona clearly does not want that team there, so
I think it's a matter of the ownership can't make it work. But I digress.
anyway.
Really stinks that Tucson has to hurt because of
Their parent club.
The parent club's incompetence, exactly, and the ownership there that has had chance after chance. I mean, let's be real. This team's existed for, 28 years in the desert, if my math is not bad. And it's been I'm trying to be nice, because I know there's a lot of passionate and hurting Arizona Coyotes fans out there. The ownership has been absolutely horrid down there. They've had chance after chance to get this right, and they have not done that.
No.
And so you have a good squad down there in Tucson. You have a good fan base down there in Tucson that loves their Roadrunners. And it's not even a fault of their own. And I think that's what hurts me the most about this team, is that they didn't do anything wrong. It's look at these guys that are making the decisions up top that have just fumbled the ball time after time again. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. The Roadrunners are a package deal. They are owned by the Coyotes. It's one of the few assets that they own that actually make money. And they're gonna have to. It's a fluid situation. Of course, we can't.
And it's still developing too.
Yeah, so we can't predict what this league's gonna look like, or what's gonna happen with the Roadrunners. I love the team. I love their jerseys and the way they mimic the parent clubs. And the Roadrunner the mascot, the logo is just it's really cool. I love the aesthetic. I would hate to see it go.
Yeah.
So I hope that there's like some other solution out there where either the Coyotes can find an owner who's got some kind of financial stability and can work with this city to make something happen, and Tucson can continue to grow and establish itself as an AHL franchise that's here to stay for the long term, rather than just pulling these players and these fans around here and here. Okay, we got an arena deal. Okay, now we're moving. Okay, now we're putting your children into your former home, and we're going to make everyone else pay and watch it so they can suffer and not see these guys at the national stage. I hope to find some kind of solution going on here. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that? I kind of want to spiel.
No, I like when you go on spiels.
No, you don't, but I appreciate you telling me that you do.
Look, I'm trying to be nice. You've had a day.
I have had a day. I think the anesthesia is finally starting to wear off on me. Anyway, it feels like there's just a ton of implications there in the Pacific with the tight races. I know I said that a lot about the North, but when you look at the over there in the West, you're like, holy shnikes, this is even tighter. I'm looking at Ontario's weekend, and they seem to have just an absolute cream puff thrown their way. They got San Diego and Henderson. Don't be surprised to see the Reign jump up there and jump up into that number 2 spot.
Yeah,
Which actually could, go ahead.
Ontario is a very good team. So
oh, that's going to segue into my next point. So from my personal experience being and working in non-COVID seasons, right? The last 2 years in the American Hockey League, I feel have had pretty clear-cut most valuable players. Dustin Wolf last year was an animal. He was an absolute animal, and I don't know if we'll see kind of a guy with that many starts put up those kinds of numbers ever again. The year before, Andrew Podorowski, 100-point season, best team in the league. How can you vote against that? I feel like that was pretty cut and dry. When you look at MVP candidates this year, there's no like, oh yeah, it's gonna be that guy. I guess the biggest case out there is Maverick Bourque leading the league in points and all that, but Texas has really been unimpressive this second half of the season. I mean, Bourque's getting his, and maybe you can use that as an argument of, Texas isn't doing well. Where would they be without Maverick Bourque? And for that, I'd be like, oh, okay. If ever in the world I was ever graced with my own vote for this, again, it's not very cut and dry, but one guy I'm looking at, and you can argue with this on me about it, and I'd be happy to do so, is Ontario Sam Fujimo. 39 goals in 6 games. Ontario was very mid when he was kind of in flux up there with LA and Nashville. Then LA caught him back on waivers, put him into Ontario, and the Reign have been just deadly ever since. Now, granted, he's also getting fed by just all-world playmaker TJ Tynan, who might have 3 goals but 1 billion assists because he just keeps setting up Fajimo. But he does that with Marty Ferk. It doesn't matter who his winger is, like they eat on Tynan's wing. And so you can actually kind of almost make a case for Tynan too at that point. But
I mean, constantly when I'm on Instagram and after the Reign have a game. Now, I originally followed Reign because a couple of players that I've worked with over the off season had gotten claimed and went there. So I've been following the Reign just because of them, but also just to kind of get more of a gist of the Western Conference. As soon as they added him, like you said, they've been on a tear, and you can also make, like you just said, the case for Tynan. I mean, there is no real clear-cut player of the year anymore in the AHL, well, this season at least.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if Stankoven was still there, you can make that argument. But he's been up looking really good with the Dallas Stars, and we're never going to see him in Texas ever again. Which almost makes what Bourque's doing even more impressive now because he doesn't have that other guy to really work off of. And you can certainly make the argument. If Maverick Bourque is the one who ends up winning the award, I'm going to say job well done, good on you, and that's wonderful. But he's not the runaway. And there's a number of other guys. And Sam, I'd actually want to know if you had a vote, who would you be going with? So, okay, you can think on this.
I hate picking for my own team, but I'm going to pick for my own team.
Oh, I knew you were going to do it.
Yoel Blomqvist.
Yep. It's okay. I picked Potts when he won the MVP, so you never know. Why would you pick Yoel? Other than you gave him a really good interview earlier in this month.
Pat myself on the shoulder here.
I was pumping your tires. You don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah, I do. I got to make my ego bigger. Anyway. I mean, he tracks the puck so well. He meets the play at where it needs to be. You don't really see rookie netminders come in and do that, especially if all they've ever known is overseas ice. I mean, he played in Finland. So for him to come here and get so acclimated so quickly to North American ice, it's kind of hard for goalies, rookie goalies. He's only 22 to do that. And he has just taken it and he has run away with it. And I've said before, and I'm going to say it again, he is going to be an absolute menace for Pittsburgh when it comes time for him to be there as a goalie.
And that's exactly why I said last week that he was primed to play the spoiler against Hershey. We're not going to get there yet. I'm looking very far in the head. It's one of the 14 billion possibility futures, like Doctor Strange said. But in one of those, I see the baby pens kind of making some world-shattering noise. Anyway, we've got a little bit of MVP talk. We've been looking ahead. I got one last series for you, and this is kind of a philosophical question. We kind of talked about guys kind of checking in a little bit in this season. Let's say you're San Jose and you're hosting Texas twice this year. Texas has every reason in the world. They still haven't clinched to play, and you've been eliminated for what feels like 8 months, and the season has only been around for 6.
You were eliminated before you even got there.
Puck Drop and the Bakuda were eliminated. That's jeez. I almost feel bad for dogging on them at this point, but you kind of brought it on yourselves. Anyway, if you're take me through the mind, if you're a Cuda player, let's say Daniil Gushin. First off, I already saw another rumor about him flying around that he's just going to say peace out and go back to Russia. Follow Leon Gavanka's example, who went back to Germany earlier this year. Said he's going to play out through this, through the rest of the season, these last couple of games. But how do you show up if you're a San Jose player against a team that's like, we need to beat the you-know-what out of these guys and get these 2 points? What do you do?
You show up and hope for the best, like. I don't know. Like, if I was a player in that, I would just, what I preach to all players is just show up, do your job, play hockey, and go home. But if you're playing hockey on a team that doesn't have very good offense, doesn't have very good defense, you're just playing to get that paycheck that you have.
That's so soul crushing. Do you realize how much you crushed my soul there? Like, there's no love of the game. There's no like playing with the boys. It's just get paid and
you're
get
just
out.
doing it. Well, you're just doing it for memories at this point with the boys. Like,
what memories? Getting pumped 6-0. I mean, I guess.
Or 9-3.
Still a 6 goal L, but I digress. It's been a tough couple of years, really, since like COVID. This team's been not good. They haven't sniffed playoffs. They haven't even come close to playoffs. And for as much as I dump on them, I would genuinely like to see a turnaround of the Cuda. But you gotta give it to me. We love the turnaround stories here at Taps, but you gotta give us something.
Gotta give us something to work with, Cuda. We're asking, we're begging, we're pleading.
We're doing our best. So, kind of nearing the end here. Sam, is there anything else this weekend that you got? What's your biggest point coming up here this weekend? You can make it Pens related if you want. I won't dog you for that.
Pens, I need you to beat Hershey.
There's some bragging rights involved in that statement. That's for sure.
But no,
I need, you know what? I need like Springfield to win. I need some like last day dramatics, right? I'm not
I need where the players are still sitting in the locker room watching that game, being like, "Please lose, please lose, please lose. We want to go."
I need some last day dramatics. Just some Sunday scaries. Because no one in the Central was doing it. The Pacific's already been determined. The North is chaotic, and that won't be clinched until the last minute of the last day. And so, Springfield, I need you to kind of pull your end of the rope here. Get out of this losing skid. Go out and just grab life by whatever you're going to grab it by, and give it a yank. Give it all you got. You gotta do something.
I remember just fans telling me a couple of years ago, the ECHL team that I work for, the guys actually went back to the locker room, watched, and it was the very last game of the season. Watched the game. Nobody left that arena, not even fans. And then when they finally, realized that team had lost and they were in and they were going to playoffs, they came back out and they did a whole thing on the ice.
Oh yeah. And we need
that.
We need some more excitement out of that. We're not getting that in a couple of our divisions. We need it. So I'm also going to challenge Iowa right now. If we want some actual excitement out of this, we're going to need Iowa to go in and go 2-0. And those two aren't coming in overtime. Like you got to do something. This is it. This is do or die. You either got to do or you're going to die.
We're in that skid right now. Do or die.
Yeah. Simple as this. Anyway, that's it that we all have here for you at the AHL Pre-Show. We've got you set up for this weekend. I can't wait to cover it all at Calder's Calling here with y'all. I mean, I won't be doing it, but our team here at the Calder Times will. It's going to be fantastic. This playoff race has been awesome. I can't wait for the offs to start. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. We got vested interests in here in the beats. Hopefully Laval can join and D can know what it's like to have a little bit of postseason hockey, and it's going to be awesome. Anyway, I'm Andrew. That over there is Sam. Thank you guys for joining on this week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.